Okay, hello and welcome to Three Skulls Tavern. I'm Matt. I'm doing something a little different, just a quick test. This came up in a Discord channel as a discussion. And basically I wanted to see, well, there was a big debate about which of the standard PDF readers available for Windows are the best for reading tabletop RPGs, which are PDFs full of graphics, full of tables, full of all sorts of stuff. They're often very, very large in size, and so I've gone for some which either people have suggested. Coriolis was suggested to me as one which is kind of slow to load on PDF readers. I've also I've also grabbed Degenesis Black Atlantic, which is a very beefy, one of the beefiest PDFs I've got. It's like less than 300 pages and 263 megabytes, as you can see here. And finally, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, WFRP 4th Edition Core Rules, version 4, 133 megabytes. These are all very, very graphic-heavy PDFs. I've also gone and downloaded them all fresh off of DriveThruRPG for the purposes of this test. They've all just, as you can see here from the timestamps, today is the 21st of February, and I've downloaded them all. The time right now is 3:45 p.m., so I've downloaded them all within the last half an hour. So these are the three I'm going to be testing, and the four PDF readers I'm going to be testing them on are Adobe Acrobat DC Reader, the kind of standard for most people, Foxit Viewer, I believe it's called, Foxit Reader, sorry, PDF-XChange Editor, the free version, and finally Sumatra PDF, which is a very lightweight minimalist one. Now, I've already run some tests myself with a different PDF, well, in fact, with Warhammer 4th Edition, but I wanted to do this kind of from a more scientific angle. So without any further ado, I'm going to quickly show you how it works. First up, I'm going to show you my system resources here, and this is kind of interesting right now. I need to have my Brave browser open because that's got the YouTube streaming thing going on in the background, which is using a lot of my memory right now. But let's look here at these different readers. So we've got Adobe Acrobat. These are all in idle. They don't have anything open or loaded right now. I can just show you here. Here's Acrobat Reader, nothing loaded. It's on the kind of home, like front home screen. Then we've got Foxit Reader, which I've just downloaded and installed. We've got here PDF-XChange Editor, and finally Sumatra PDF. The 64-bit version. I think there's two different versions of that one. So they're all open. None of them are actually loaded with anything yet. So let's look at how much resources they're using. It should be no surprise that Sumatra PDF is only using a very, very small amount of memory, 4.6 megabytes. It is a minimalist PDF reader, so that's not surprising at all. Acrobat Reader DC, surprisingly, is in second place in terms of system resource when idle, at 47 megabytes. And PDF-XChange Editor, 82 megabytes. It's actually not that big, in my opinion. I think that's... Oh, no, sorry. I've completely missed Foxit. I was looking at OBS Studio for some reason. Foxit is in second with 36. And PDF-XChange is actually double the one behind it, Acrobat, with 82. So PDF-XChange Editor is using the most in terms of system resources, although I think by looking at that, 82 megabytes idle isn't really too bad. Also, there's an additional cost with Acrobat Reader, and that's all the Adobe bloatware that's installed. As you can see here, Acrobat Tray is installed. We've got the Acrobat Update Service installed, Adobe Collaboration, Synchro, whatever that is, Adobe Genius software, Adobe RDR CEF. There's just a ton of stuff. And look at these. Look how much resources these are using down here. So I think it's fair to say we've got over 100 megabytes just on these additional Adobe Reader systems or processes. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but they're running, using up my system. So you have to add another 100 on top of Adobe Acrobat Reader. So that is actually the most bloated by a fairly large margin. Okay, so I'll probably come back to this after I've loaded something. Let's start with the lightest of those PDFs. I'm going to load I'm going to load the same PDF into each one at a time. I'm then going to use my mouse scroll. I'm going to open them in double page. Double page, so facing view, and then I'm going to have it in the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically where you roll the mouse wheel and it jumps the next two facing pages so that it's not a continuous scroll, it actually jumps through. And that way, by flicking through really quickly with my mouse, I can try and load lots of graphics heavy pages in a very, very short period of time. We can see if any of them are struggling or lagging. So let's start with Coriolis, which is the smallest one on my list here. In fact, we'll sort these by size. So we're going to start with Coriolis. We're going to open it with, I've also got Adobe Acrobat Professional version X, I believe, but I'm not going to be loading that. That's mainly used for editing PDFs. So here we go. Here it is. I'm going to switch it to this mode here. Make sure it's in fit one page view. Switch it to that. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to scroll through this. This is with Acrobat Reader. And as you okay, it's starting to like just slow ever so slightly, but it's not really struggling to load anything on my computer. Again, my specs for my PC are in the description, but it's really not struggling with Coriolis. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to then open Coriolis in the next one, which we're going to do Foxit. It's be interesting because I've not used this yet. Foxit Reader. Here we go. Okay, it didn't open it. Interesting. So that didn't work from the Explorer menu for some reason. Let's try that again. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, so that's kind of interesting with Foxit that it's not working from the right-click kind of thing there. So I'm going to go back here to testing, and we're going to click on Coriolis. All right, here we go. We're going to put it to fit page, and we're going to look at. Got a view here, and let's. I've not used this in a very, very long time. There should be an option. Here we go for facing 2 pages side by side. Let's get rid of this ribbon. So basically, maximize the view, and here we go. Okay, and you can see here already it's struggling. Foxit is struggling to populate the text. I mean, it's not huge lag, but it's worse than Acrobat Reader, where the kind of call-out boxes where the text is being held are taking a moment of lag to catch up. Now, obviously, I have a fairly decent system, so if you've got a laptop or something, it's probably going to struggle a lot more to open this. So I'm going to stop it there. Okay, that's Foxit, which currently is the worst of the bunch right now. Let's open it in. Next up on the list is PDF-XChange, which is my current favorite that I'm using at the moment. Oh, Xodo. Xodo, I've got that installed as well. Give me 1 second while I just quickly fire that up. The annoying thing with Xodo is that it's only available on the Windows Store, and it doesn't give you a it doesn't like get registered when you type in like a search to open it. In fact, I can't even find it right now. I definitely have it installed. Let me just right click on it. Sorry, right click, open with. Xodo should be on this list, unless I've found. Oh, here, PDF Reader by Xodo. All right, so let's just hold on. I already had Coriolis loaded in that. It's a different version, I think, or not the one I've just freshly opened. So here's Coriolis. This is Xodo. Let's have a look at the system resources that it's using. In fact, without anything loaded. All right, system resources. Xodo, 100 megabytes, so it's a bit beefier. Again, you have to ignore these other ones because they've got a PDF loaded, but I'm going to reload Coriolis. We're going to put it in, not that view. Oh, man. There's these, view mode. There we go, view mode. We want it in vertical scrolling off. And we want it in double. There we go. Okay, so let's do Xodo next. I'm just going to quickly pin it to my taskbar and move it so I know when I'm looking at it. Xodo, okay, it's lagging, just dragging the mouse to go to the next one. So this is actually pretty laggy. Now, Xodo is my favorite PDF reader on my Android phone, but it's quite clear on the desktop that it's not loading new pages. I mean, it's really slow compared to the others. Okay, that'll do. Wow, it's like hanging on this pilot's page. Yeah, very, 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 very slow to kind of scroll. Okay, next we're going with PDF-XChange Editor. This is the free version again. So I go to the View tab, put it on Fit Page, put it on Double Page here. Let's get rid of this thing as well to make it as big as possible. And here we go. Okay, and as you can see, it's loading quickly. There's none of that like lag from that we saw in Foxit. It basically doesn't have any issues at all, similar to Acrobat. That's good to see. I'll stop there. All right, and last but not least, we've got Sumatra. Sumatra, let's open this one like so. Okay, right. And it's already loaded. I think I actually may have set this up in my settings for this to be the default anyway. So here we go with Sumatra with Coriolis. Okay, it's like the pages are taking a minute to snap back in. So there's lag on this one too. If I go really fast, you're not seeing anything, right? Compared to the others. So it's actually snappier than Foxit. Yeah, but it's Foxit would be the worst, and I think Sumatra would be the next one after that. It's just a little bit, it's a bit slow. Please wait rendering. Okay, interesting. So I've even scrolled too far for it to even be able to handle it. So Sumatra is not handling it very well. Right, I'm just looking in the chat for the first time. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up. Lassa says, memory consumption isn't the end-all, be-all. I'd rather have it consume more memory and have it being fast than consuming little. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got 16 gigabytes. I think as long as it's sort of, I mean, look, okay, this is the other thing I wanted to do. When I've got a big file open, I wanted to see how much it's now consuming memory-wise. Adobe Acrobat is now consuming 350 megabytes worth. On top of this, sort of, there's about 60 being used. So over 400 megabytes worth of system resources, which again isn't a huge amount if you've got a recent rig that's got something like, let's say, if you've got a 64-bit Windows operating system, hopefully you've got at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you've got 4 gigabytes of RAM, then maybe that's a bit more significant because that's going to be something like, you know, pushing up near to, yeah, 10% of your, if you got 400 megabytes, it's like roughly 10% of your system resources in memory. We're looking at Foxit has got 1.5 gigabytes of system resources. That is huge. That's 1.5 gigabytes just to have Coriolis open. That's ridiculous. That is bad. PDF-XChange Editor, 800, nearly a gigabyte, is also pretty bad. Not very, yeah. Maybe that's why it's rendering things so quickly, is because it's using so much memory. PDF Reader by Xodo is only 282, but again, it was struggling to load those pages. And Sumatra is actually not the lowest at 415. So that's quite interesting to look at there, that the two that are like PDF-XChange Editor and Adobe Acrobat were rendering the pages the quickest. And PDF-XChange Editor is like 800 megabytes. Let's just look if there's another process being done down here for it. It's called Tracker, the program. So if there's something called Tracker, there isn't. And PDF-XChange, no, there's not. Why the hell is Origin always running? It's only 1.5 megabytes, but it annoys me. And that's it. So none of these other PDF readers look like they're running anything else in the background process-wise. So that's good. There's nothing else hiding there. There's an update service for Foxit, but again, it's quite small, but worth knowing if you don't like those sorts of things happening. Adobe's by far the worst when it comes to background processes. Derigo says, this is so off topic and likely covered on Discord, but I'm here. Saw Free League, so that brought me to the One Ring Kickstarter. Is it worth it? I'm backing the One Ring Kickstarter for like 150 euros. I think it's pretty incredible looking. I have all of the first edition supplements, practically all of them in hard copy. I'm going to be running it on this channel. I'm going to be a player in a One Ring campaign that's going to be run on this channel in the summer, starting in the summertime. So definitely Free League, definitely the One Ring second edition. I think it's worth it. I've actually played in the first edition, and I really like the mechanics too. So yes, to answer that question, I personally think it's worth it. Okay, so that was interesting. I'm not going to look at the task manager. Or maybe I will when I've got Black Atlantic loaded, because it's a massive file. But let's do that next. Let's go to the next one on the list. So we're getting ever bigger. That was nearly a 50 megabyte PDF, and we're now going to a 133 megabyte PDF. Warhammer 4th edition. Again, if you've just jumped in, these are all freshly downloaded today, so they are the latest versions that you'd be getting from DriveThruRPG. Okay, so we're going to open this one. Again, we're going to do in the same order. First, we're going to open it with... wow, right-clicking is taking a while. 76. I've got 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm at 75% usage, which is a lot, actually. So anyway, right-click again. Shouldn't have done that. open with Adobe Reader DC. All right, it looks like it's still on the same. Oh, look at this. It's not even loading the cover page now. I'm going to get rid of Coriolis. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to close it so it's only on one tab. Okay, it didn't load the front page initially, but I jumped ahead and came back and it loaded okay. So let's scroll through this again really quickly. Okay, we saw there's a little bit of lag, a little bit of rendering happening there, but it's a little bit slow actually. So it's actually struggling a little bit now with Warhammer as I'm scrolling fast. Obviously it's not consistent. It's going pretty quickly now. It looks like when there are consistent images that are taking up most of the page that it's struggling, which is interesting. So when it's mainly text, it's fine. There we go. Yes, we're seeing these pages here where you've got this background image for the tables, because that is an image file behind the text where it's kind of struggling to render those in. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. Anyway, that's fine. Let's go to the next one. The next one being Foxit. Oh, and Foxit doesn't load again. Interesting. I have to open this manually. WFRP. Now I'm going to close the start menu here. I'm going to close the Coriolis, so I've only got the one tab open. Again, I have to change the view on this to double screen, and I want it to be where was it? I thought it was home actually. Fit page. There we go. All right, so let's try Foxit. Oh my god. Wow, there's meant to be text there behind those images. It's again loading very slowly. There's no text kind of showing up at all. I'm moving my mouse wheel. It's not moving. It's stuck on whatever page this is. I'm going to leave it for a second. 43. Just keep scrolling. Okay, I'm scrolling, stopping. How far did it get? 57. Just a little bit of a scroll. 15. Okay. So, I mean, this is terrible. This is really slow. Yeah. So the people who say Foxit is great, you've been using it for years. There's much better PDF readers out there. Even Acrobat. So yeah, I'm not impressed at all with Foxit. Let's look at next one on my list, which is Xodo. Close down Coriolis. It's remembered my view settings, which is great. This is probably a minor thing. I can probably set it in the settings for these other programs to remember or to show a very specific thing. I haven't done that for PDF-XChange or Foxit, so I can't really fault it for that necessarily. Right, here we go. Okay, so it's slow. It's slow to load in the kind of these pages, but it's actually loading them in full. So I think what it's doing here, and the reason why it's so slow, is it's only loading them when it's fully rendered. It's not kind of loading an unrendered or a partially rendered page. But it does mean it flicks through the pages fairly slowly. So an interesting thing, I mean, it's definitely readable, I guess, that it's not loading you in like a white page and then the text is popping in, but it is going to slow down a bit on these big, heavy PDFs. Okay, let's go with what's next on my list, PDF-XChange. There we go. Let's close on the other one, go to View. We want it to fit page, and we want it to be double page here. All right. So here we go. This is PDF-XChange. Aha. So this is also having the rendering issue where it's not popping in. Okay, interesting. Now I'm going to do a test at the very end because I have been using PDF-XChange Editor, this one we're looking at right now. I have used it with Warhammer 4th Edition because we've just started a campaign, and I've been browsing through it. I haven't noticed any of that. So again, your mileage may vary, and I think part of the reason might be that I'm maxing out my memory right now. And in fact, it is using a fair... Oh, it's dropped down. It was 800 before. Now it's at 367, which is interesting. But yeah, so it's actually not handling it very well at all. Like, I'm scrolling. You can see the page numbers moving ahead as I'm doing that. If I stop, here they pop in. Okay, so they're popping in fairly quickly, but and if I do it a little bit, if I scroll a little bit slower, it's managing much easier. Or managing it much better. We're going to leave that for now, and we're going to jump to Sumatra. Okay, Sumatra now. It's got the right thing in. So scrolling, yeah. So this is also having, you can see on the left with the bookmarks that it's showing you I'm scrolling through lots of pages at once. They're actually popping in fairly quickly, but there's still that rendering lag. And I think if I scroll really far ahead again, it's going to give me that rendering, possibly give me that rendering window I got with, it's not actually this time, I got with Coriolis. I'm right at the end on the index. Okay. So Sumatra is actually fairly snappy, although it is doing that rendering thing. So I'd say probably the best one is Acrobat here, because Acrobat really had hardly any problems. There I'm scrolling back up, as you can see from the toolbar on the right, the scroll bar on the right. Yeah. So Acrobat wins on Warhammer, followed by probably Sumatra, and then it's a toss-up between all the rest. I mean, Xodo was slow, but you don't get the white page rendering, but that's as fast as it can. That's as fast as it can scroll between pages. Again, probably because it's rendering them. It's not showing any white page rendering. But I actually don't like that. I'd rather it kind of. I guess if you go slow enough, it's okay. But I like to sometimes scroll fairly quickly through a PDF to search. Like just drag my mouse. Like I'm flicking through pages in a book, so I'm dragging that or scrolling that mouse wheel fairly quickly. Yeah, that's kind of slow. And let's jump to Foxit again. Foxit is terrible. I mean, Foxit is unusable in my opinion. It's the worst of the bunch for sure. Probably, yeah. And then I can't really. I think, and then it's a toss up between Xodo and PDF-XChange. But yeah, now we're gonna open the behemoth. Degenesis Black Atlantic. This is a massive book. As you can see, 263 megabytes, and you're going to see when I open it how many pages it has. It's got 282 pages, so it's a huge book, right? Here we are with Acrobat Reader. And look at that. Look at that. Oh, man. Okay. Now, I've stopped using Acrobat Reader because of other issues. When I have lots of different PDFs open, it crashes. It actually stops loading and it says like system out of memory or something, even though it's the only PDF I've got open. Sometimes I've got plenty of system resources free. It's been crashing quite often lately, and it just really annoys me. So that's why I've stopped using it. But in terms of rendering, it's definitely not struggling at all with this massive PDF. So I should have probably said this is a bit explicit, this PDF, this book. A lot of nudity in it. And sexual content as well, as we just saw at a quick flick. Right, now we're going to open it with Foxit. Again, Foxit doesn't work from the context menu in Explorer, which is also really frustrating. So I have to open it from the open thing here. All right, here we go. Okay, now this is interesting. This is, I've got Warhammer open in the background. Let me just close that so we're doing a kind of consistent thing here. It's actually loading it fairly well, which is interesting. So I wonder if this is actually only the size it is because of the amount of art that's in it. Very, very rich, detailed art, lots of detail. Also, as you can see here, the backgrounds are slightly different every time. They're not using a consistent like master PDF background, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're gonna stop with that one now. That's actually pretty good. I'm quite impressed with Foxit on that one. Although Foxit was rubbish with the other two, so I'm unlikely to let that sway me. I'm also not playing Degenesis, but I am playing a lot of Warhammer, so that's definitely going to influence my decision personally. PDF-XChange Editor now looks like it's got it in the right view, so this is probably set up. The PDF is probably set up to open in this facing non-continuous view anyway. So here we go. I'm going to close Warhammer in the background, so it's just this one. Okay, and that's also scrolling through, no problems. And just to see if there's anything missing, there is actually a bit of white space on these pages here, which I was wondering if there's anything not rendering, like here. Yeah, there's just nothing there. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is PDF-XChange. Yeah, just white space. Interesting. Okay. Is that really? I'm going to open it, same page. So what page are we on? 64. Let's open page 64 here in Acrobat, which is nice and fast. Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, so PDF-XChange Editor also has no problem with it, so that's good. So far, oh, what did we say with Xodo? Did I do Xodo? I don't think I did Xodo yet. No. Now we're going to do Xodo. All right, here we go. Yeah, just really slow. Really slow. It's just really taking its time. You can see the page number here increasing on the left. It's only going one page at a time. Again, compared to the other two, or compared to all the other three I've done, it's just very, very, very sluggish. But it is, I mean, it's not having any white page rendering or anything like that. So let's look at the last one here, Sumatra. And here we go. Again, we've got the white page rendering. It's popping in fairly quickly, but it's still white page. So that's definitely not, compared to how Foxit, PDF-XChange, and Adobe. Look, we got this please wait rendering again now. So, okay. Yep. Sumatra just doesn't really cut it. So from a rendering perspective, I'd say I would actually, I'm going to close Xodo. I'm going to close Sumatra because they're, in my opinion, not really cutting the mustard. Now Foxit was fine on Degenesis, but it wasn't really great with the other two. And the fact that I can't open from a right click, I mean, if I was to change, I'm gonna do this right now. I'll change it later. Open with, I'm gonna choose another app. I'm gonna choose Foxit to be my default. And it should then open directly in Foxit. So if I was switching, it's not opening in Foxit with a double click. Okay, so on that basis, Foxit is also, in my opinion, unusable. There might be some installation setting I didn't tick, but I work in IT. It shouldn't be. I mean, I know what I'm doing here. So, yeah, that's pretty damning there. That I can't even open a PDF by double clicking on it when Foxit is set as the default app for opening PDFs. So I'm gonna switch this back to PDF-XChange, which is actually what I wanted to do before, and I just hadn't gotten around to doing it. Okay. Now I'm going to look at another test. So I'm going to close down Foxit, and now I'm going to open, I'm just looking at PDF-XChange Editor and Acrobat, which in my opinion are the two kind of best from the ones I've just from a rendering perspective. And I'll quickly talk about the two of them. I want to open all three of these together, and I'm going to look at system resources first. So I'm going to open all three. And I didn't open Coriolis yet in PDF-XChange Editor. Oh, look, I've got a separate thing here for it, which is interesting. Okay. All right, so let's look at system resources first. PDF-XChange Editor with all three open is using 650 megabytes. It's interesting because with just Coriolis before, it was 800, so I don't know, it's a bit odd there. Acrobat is jumping all over the place here, 300, 400, 500. It's also got all these other background processes running, which annoys me really badly, including these here, these 4, 5, 6 Adobe Reader CEF processes, which are adding another 100 on top of that anyway. So we're kind of looking at a similar amount of memory footprint. Also, Lassus said in chat, what about setting process to be to have memory priority in here in Task Manager for one of these? And I mean, we can definitely do that. I'm just trying to remember how to do this. I haven't done this in a long time. Is it properties? Nope. I can't remember how to do that. You have to right click on. Nope. I don't know, last if you can tell me how to do that fairly quickly, I can look at doing that. But it's under details maybe. I have done this in the past before, a long time ago. Here, right click, set priority to. Let's set it to high. I think rather than real time, we'll put it to high priority. Change the priority. And then I'll leave all three open. I'm going to do another scroll through. So I'm going to take this back to page 1, which I think I go to view back here like that. And we're going to scroll through. Okay, we had a little blip of white space, like white page rendering, but it's scrolling through pretty nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's look at WFRP, home, view, first page. Again, it's having that, just kind of struggling with that really rich cover initially, but let's go. Okay, we got this white page again on WFRP, which isn't great. Again, I didn't have this when I was reading it myself previously, so it's interesting that it's happening now. So that's not great. And then Degenesis, didn't have any problems with Degenesis before. It's not having any problems with the Degenesis now. Again, interesting that this is like the biggest one of the list. Look, we got a little bit of white page rendering there. But yeah, WFRP is struggling, which is interesting. As you can see here, it's got these white pages kind of cropping up. Yeah. So Acrobat, we'll do Acrobat last then. I'll redo Acrobat again. And Acrobat really isn't struggling with Coriolis, 4th edition of Warhammer. We're getting a little bit of this white page jumping in as well. It's not as bad as with PDF-XChange, but this has been the best with the rendering from all of the systems. So that's interesting. And let me just actually put here as well with Acrobat. It's like, which of these two systems that are running is the one that I want to give it? It's obviously the one using up all the memory here. But look at how many bloody services it's using. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna put that to high as well. Yeah, it's not really changing anything. Again, the second half of the PDF didn't have the problems with loading. It was more around the careers, but it's still doing the same thing. So yeah, that's WFRP and Degenesis. I'm not expecting to have any problems whatsoever. Back to the first page. Yeah, I'd say if anything, it's not quite as quick as PDF-XChange, but it's almost negligible. And it's probably not actually slower. Okay. So that's basically it. There are some issues. So if you're just looking at rendering, you're just looking at which one is the best. If you're just interested in rendering, I would say you're probably best sticking with Acrobat Reader because it just handles it much better than the others. I've switched to PDF-XChange Editor because, as I've said, I was having big problems when I would have multiple PDFs open in Acrobat. I would be using them, not even scrolling through quickly, just kind of like going through, looking at the various different things. Okay. And then all of a sudden I would get an error screen saying that there was like a memory error or something, and it couldn't display the PDF anymore. And I would have to actually like close the PDF and reopen it, which is really annoying. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with, there's nothing wrong with any of these PDFs. It's just the reader itself is crashing. And it annoyed me so much that I decided to ditch it. I'm also not a huge fan of Adobe. I use Photoshop. I have Photoshop CS6, which I paid for, and I'm still happy using it. I really dislike the subscription model that Adobe uses. So I'm very, very happy if I'm using an Adobe product to switch to something else. I have no real brand loyalty to Adobe whatsoever. So once it started kicking me out, I was happy to move on. I also get prompted all the time to sign in with Adobe. I don't like having to sign into like an Adobe backend system, to their cloud, etc., to try and do additional functionality. I just don't like it. So yeah, if all you're concerned with is functionality or with rendering speed, then Acrobat is probably your best one. And if you don't really care about all the other stuff to do with Adobe, then you're probably going to be happy with it. It just seems a little bit unstable to me in usage. Again, I have been using this for years and years without really any issues. Just the minor things like the amount of services that are running when you have it open. Even if I close Acrobat right now, let's close it. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Adobe processes open in the background. Now, I don't know how many of these are open because I also have Lightroom and CS6 installed, but definitely Acrotray is from Acrobat. This update service is from Acrobat, and they're tiny. They're not using hardly any memory. But it annoys me that Acrobat is keeping systems running on in my system when I don't want them to, and it's very, very hard to get rid of them and to stop them. I have actually gone and looked at my services. You can go into Windows, go to Services, and you can actually you can disable services from running, but it can also stop things from working. And because they're so small, I've left them running, but it's just something to be aware of. So here's PDF-XChange as the only one that's running. This is the one I have just started using like about a week ago. We're using it at my work. I work in IT, and it's the PDF editor that we're using at work. We've got like a professional license to edit PDFs with it. It's very fully functional. The UI, the user interface, isn't that brilliant. It's pretty ugly, if I'm honest, compared to especially things like Xodo and Acrobat Reader. But in terms of stability, it's extremely stable. You should have seen before I did this test, I had, I think, 10 to 15 PDFs open at the same time. and I wasn't having any issues switching between them, scrolling through them at all. And you're looking at this in 1080p. I actually have 1440p monitor. This was expanded to fill my entire monitor, and again, I wasn't noticing any kind of rendering issues like I'm still experiencing right now. In fact, I'm going to close this whole thing down, and then I'm going to reopen it and see if it still does it. It is still doing it. Yeah. So WFRP is really struggling. So for me, like if I'm gonna benchmark test any new readers that maybe somebody suggests to me, I'm just gonna go straight to WFRP 4th edition core rulebook because it's it's beefy. It's probably the worst optimized PDF I've got. I'm sure there are other ones, but this is the one that springs to mind because I'm using it right now. Yeah, so just looking at the chat very quickly, Lassa saying it could be it could be a question of layers. That's true in terms of like loading in the various layers that are existing on a PDF. So for example, with Degenesis, it might just have, perhaps it's been flattened so that it's only got maybe 2 layers, like a background layer and then a text layer on top potentially, which would help with the rendering. Whereas WFRP might have, in fact, I think there's a layers option here somewhere. This is bookmarks. Again, I've just started reusing this, so I'm not fully au fait with how to get these things. Panes, they're called. So is there a layers pane? There should be layers. So there are no layers on this, it's saying. But I can clearly tell when scrolling through it, there are no layers accessible, but it's not been flattened as a PDF. Right? That's why we can see that there's like the background for the tables is popping in separately. So anyway, there's a lot to think about there. Ultimately, it's going to come down to personal preference, but I wanted to do this video because people have been, there's a bit of debate happening on a Discord channel for the Mud and Blood podcast about which PDF readers people are using, and there was a lot of talk about stability and rendering speed and that sort of thing. So to kind of do a practical test, I just wanted to do a video like this. So how long have I been? Over half an hour already, so I thought this was going to be fairly quick, but I think it's worth looking at, comparing different PDFs with different sizes and different amounts of graphics and things like that, and just to really talk about favorites. And currently this is my favorite. Again, I have been using it for a week. That's not a long time to be using it, so I'm planning on using this for quite a long time, for at least several months, maybe most of this year, and there may be things that crop up with it where maybe I don't like it. Maybe I'm noticing more rendering issues with other PDFs. I don't know. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how stable it is and with like its rendering speed. I did notice with Xodo, which I'm pretty happy with on the Android, that it's actually, it looks really sleek, but it's not very easy to use. It's like a lot of the like tooltips and stuff. I'd like it if you, I mean, you do hover over them and it tells you what they are, but it feels like it's lacking in functionality. I would consider it a minimalist PDF reader, mainly because it seems like it lacks functions. However, if you click on this edit button, there's a lot you can do. I mean, I can basically scribble all over a PDF if I want to. Just like on the Android version. I'm sure if I scribble on this in the Android here, and then I save this PDF and open the saved PDF on my Android, it would keep all those anything I'm writing there. I can stick images in here, so if I click on the image button and then click, I can open an image from a file, stick it in there. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do, and it's a free program. There's no like paywall with hiding things. There's a lot of editing functionality here on PDF-XChange Editor, but it does have a paid version, and it did say, I think it said that you can access 60 or maybe 70% of the features with the free one. So there's like 30 to 40% of the functionality is hidden behind a paywall, but it doesn't it's not an annoying paywall. You're not getting hit with ads or anything like that. And yeah. It doesn't have a subscription model, I don't believe, either. I think it's a one-off payment, which is nice. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. I personally like PDF-XChange Editor the best, but if you like something else, or if there's something I completely missed out on, please hit me up in the comments for this video, and let me know. Yeah. And that's me done. So thanks very much for watching. And yeah, if you want to see more similar videos like this in the future, please leave a comment, because then I know that it's, people are watching it. This is different to the general sort of stuff I'm doing on this channel, where I'm normally streaming tabletop role-playing content, like actual plays and stuff. But if people want to see more technical type of videos, then I'm quite happy to do them. Again, I work in IT, so I'm quite happy to kind of pull them up and to do all sorts of little experimentations and things with them. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll